Thank you so much. Yeah. Did it flip right? Sorry, some of my friends wanted to watch this, so we were gonna live stream. All right, hey y'all. So I realized I failed to introduce myself. My name is Helen. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. I've been a Westsider since 2011 when I graduated high school. So that's been 13 years now. Cool. And I am a Unitarian Universalist pastor in progress, which means that I'm still in the credentialing process. I've worked with kids for a really long time, about 16 years. I started as a camp counselor, and I've worked with, kids in a mental health treatment facility, at Boys and Girls Club, in churches, in all kinds of different settings. And I also was the oldest of 4 kids, 9 grandkids. I started babysitting when I was like 7. So that's all to kind of set the stage for this story I'm going to start with. Now, if you were on my Facebook this week, you saw a very condensed version of this story, but there's a little more to it now. So I'm sitting at the edge of the apartment complex pool while my child jumps in. My kiddo isn't here with us today. He is joyfully camping with his granny and Jack. He's 8 and his name is Henry. I default to my camp counselor training, hang 10, which means 10 toes over the edge of the pool, eyes on the water, constantly scanning for safety. The upstairs neighbor and I joked about relaxing and closing our eyes at the pool while our kids shrieked and splashed on opening day last week. My kiddo and I are alone, except for 2 teens who are sitting off in the corner. After a few moments, I hear them moving closer. Are you gonna ask her? Yeah, I'll ask her. Excuse me. Hi, what's up? Can you supervise us so we can swim? The people in the office won't let us get in because we don't have an adult with us. The kid in front of me is much younger than I thought at a distance, maybe 11, with long black hair. She has beautiful brown skin, and her friend, hanging back nervously, is white. I passively wonder if the staff would have gotten onto them so swiftly if they both looked like me. Sure thing. I just need you to make sure it's okay with your adults. Are you able to call them? The kids exchange nervous looks. One family doesn't speak English, and the others, adults, are at work and unreachable. Okay, can you text them and just let me know once you have permission? Sometimes I really wish I could be a cooler mom. Sorry, I said. If I didn't work with kids, I wouldn't be so uptight about it. I don't love the liability implications of supervising 2 kids I don't know at the neighborhood pool, but I also know the risk is relatively low and the kids seemed keen to follow the rules. Plus, I was confident I could handle an emergency should one arise. Moments later, they get the green light and jump into play. One of them seems like a confident swimmer, and the other names that they can't swim and they stick to the shallow end, where my kiddo's pretty excited to have a playmate. I sit on the side and supervise, instinctively doing a head count. 1, 2, 3, everyone's good, about every 45 seconds or so. And pretty content to not be the one entertaining my own child for a few minutes that day. As introductions were made in the course of play, someone mispronounced my kiddo's name. We're working on learning how to be assertive, so I coached him. I said, you can say, actually, my name is Henry, just like when I correct people about my pronouns. It's okay to politely let people know they got something wrong. Actually, my name is Henry, actually my pronouns are they, them, and just leave it at that. You don't have to apologize. Wide eyes from one of our new friends. Your pronouns are they, them? Oh, shit. That's not the real word that I said in my brain. I wonder if I just inadvertently opened a door that I tried very hard to steer away from in public and with new people. Yep, my pronouns are they, them. The kid's face softens. Aww. I can't quite tell if it's genuine or some sort of bless your heart in Gen Alpha speak. But what I do notice is that their friend lights up and suddenly becomes very chatty. I recognize the look on their face instantly. It's the glimmer of euphoria that is only allowed to breach the surface in the sacred witness of community. Well, my pronouns are they, he, and I'm bi, they blurt out. And they go on to chatter for several minutes about their identities and experience, asking me all kinds of questions along the way. I listen, nodding and smiling, so none of the kids can see my internal panic. I didn't expect them to open up like that. They look at me expectantly. Thanks for sharing that. I smile and let the silence linger for a moment. And then I tell them my best friend is a trans man. He's so happy, and I love seeing how joyful he is, being true to himself and genuine. I have nothing but love for this kid, and I can't overstate the panicked internal tightrope I am walking between how much I want to wholeheartedly affirm this kid and how much I do not want to be a strange adult talking about queer stuff with an unsupervised minor in the wild. We chatted for a while, and I basked in honor of being a safe place for someone to be authentic, if only for a moment. And I know it sounds like this is kind of a pat myself on the back kind of story, and I almost didn't tell it for that reason, but stick with me. Except with my church community here at Westside and at South Press Coffee Shop, which is a queer-owned coffee shop that is amazing. But except in those two places, I've been really afraid to be visibly queer in public since I moved back to Tennessee early this year. I've been enjoying the strange and quiet privilege of gay divorce, which is no longer being visibly queer most of the time. And as Pride Month approaches, I hadn't once considered putting up a pride flag. The risk just felt too significant. We're going to come back to this in just a minute, but what we're going to do next is just a teeny tiny little guided meditation. So I invite you to close your eyes, settle into your seat, take a deep breath. Now imagine you're hiking in the Great Smoky Mountains. It's a beautiful day, and you're enjoying the nature. It's sunny, but not hot, and there's a light breeze. By the grace of some divine being, there are no mosquitoes. You're all alone in your peaceful little moment. And suddenly, you realize you have company. Now I want you to imagine you turn around and see who's joined you. You have two choices. It is either a bear or a man. Which do you prefer? Well, think on that a second and come back into your body. Now I know I see some of y'all know what I'm talking about and some of y'all are very confused. That's okay. This question, you're in the woods, would you rather run into a bear or a man? This is something that has been floating around the internet for a few weeks. And unsurprisingly, most women and people of marginalized genders chose the bear. I'll leave you to do some digging into that whole discourse and some pondering as to why you think that overall consensus may be. It's been really interesting to see how this question has evolved over the last few weeks. There were tons and tons of responses. Some people absolutely didn't get it. Some people totally got it. Some people, like, all over the place. It's good stuff, actually. So this question has been posed different ways to different kinds of people. Notably, it was posed to Black women, asking, you're in a workplace setting, and your supervisor is either a white man or a white woman. Which do you prefer? The overwhelming majority of Black women said neither. I can't really blame them. They said, Or many said that is a choice between someone who will pretend to be your friend and then weaponize their tears, and someone who will overtly dismiss and belittle them. And they said neither feels like a good option. And so it's been asked in many ways. It's making some people big mad. There's a whole lot of, not all men, why do you believe this about all men? Nobody believes this about all men. This question wasn't posed to demonstrate all men are bad. That's not true. Nobody's saying that. But it was posed specifically for the moderates, for the folks who are aware but maybe not engaged, for the men who might not really realize how absolutely dire it can be to be a woman or a person of a marginalized gender in our society. And this was especially apparent when the question was posed to fathers of young daughters. Would you rather your young daughter be alone in the woods with a bear or a man? The horror on their faces as they realized the depth of what this question was asking and the implications, it was honestly kind of sad, but it was really important. Many of those men probably considered themselves allies to feminist causes, but I'd like to gently suggest that we cannot call ourselves allies to anyone unless we are close enough to them to get hit by rocks that are being thrown at them. As we're coming up on Pride Month, this has me wondering about allyship in terms of queer inclusion and justice. It makes me wonder, as a queer person, if I had to encounter someone who was homophobic, would I rather encounter someone who is overtly or covertly homophobic? Would I rather encounter someone who's nice to my face or calls me a slur to my face? And on the flip side, would I rather have an ally who hangs back and supports me behind the scenes? Or would I prefer to have an ally who is intentional about their allyship being visible and obvious? Would I rather have someone in a book club about my lived experience, or someone who is willing to stand beside me, even if that means they're getting hit by stones being thrown at me? Advocacy can come at great personal risk. It is an incredible ask, or at least it can feel that way, to expect another person to leverage their safety, privilege, and position to support another. Far too often in our society, we lean towards individualism. Very well, that's not me, it's not impacting me, I don't care, right? But that is no way to live, and it is certainly no way to thrive. We need each other, even when we don't want to admit it. Now, I want to talk about a person in our local community who exemplifies what it means to be an ally, what it means to be patriotic, what it means to show up in support of your values radically and unapologetically. And before I go on, does anybody have any ideas who I might be talking about? Mary Frances, who we talk about?
Yassin?
Yassin! Yes! I am talking about Yassin. Now, who's familiar with Yassin's Falafel House?
Oh.
A lot of us are familiar with Yassin's Falafel House. If you are not, here's the TLDR, which is internet speak for too long didn't read. Yassin Tarot is a local business owner. He is a Syrian refugee who came to Knoxville several years ago and opened his restaurant, Yassin's Falafel House. A few years ago, Yassin's Falafel House was named the nicest place in America by Good Morning America and had a whole bunch of news coverage. And that's largely due to the radically inclusive nature of the business, which is reflective of the personal values and radically inclusive personality of its owner. The store proudly boasts a large poster and t-shirts proclaiming welcome, all sizes, all colors, all ages, all sexes, all cultures, all religions, all types, all beliefs, all people are safe here. And he really practices what he preaches. Despite the significant personal risks involved with public advocacy, Yassin has loudly and proudly supported social justice movements, including Black Lives Matter, and now has joined the People's School for Gaza and students organizing at the University of Tennessee in protesting the ongoing genocide against Palestine. Yassin, along with 10 other demonstrators, was arrested about 2 weeks ago at one of the demonstrations, and he was injured by UT police in the process. He has received an incredible amount of support and an incredible amount of negative feedback in the aftermath, which I imagine he may have expected. I also imagine it might be easier or more comfortable to say nothing. He might sell more falafel if he wasn't so publicly involved in advocacy, and especially in so-called controversial issues. But being silent isn't aligned with his values. This is the man who, without hesitation, took off with food supplies and took days of his life to feed people in the aftermath of tornadoes in Middle Tennessee a few years ago, who raised funds for earthquake victims, I believe it was Turkey and Ukraine, and raised a whole bunch of aid for them, who never misses an opportunity to support his community. This is someone who gives free meals to the homeless and embodies all that is great about America, all that is great about inclusion and diversity, and honestly looks and acts a hell of more like Jesus Christ than most folks here in East Tennessee. This person takes up causes that speak to his heart and values simply because it's the right thing to do, and I am inspired by that. So back to my little friends. A little while after this experience, I decided to ask myself, what would Yassin do? I decided I'm definitely going to put up a pride flag this year. I'm definitely going to start wearing a rainbow bracelet at the pool. I'm definitely going to rock a t-shirt I just bought that says, "This pastor loves you," in rainbow letters at every opportunity I can. This does come at some personal risk. I definitely bought 2 of every pride item that I'm going to hang up outside of my house because I expect that they're probably going to be stolen or taken down. But in this risk-benefit analysis, there's something that supersedes any risk I can personally take on. Queer and trans youth are at an exorbitant risk of death by suicide. This is especially true when they are in environments that are unaffirming. In fact, just having one affirming adult in their life can drastically reduce a queer teen's risk of death by suicide. So I imagine for me, at worst, I might have to have an uncomfortable conversation with another adult. And that's really the worst case scenario. But the worst case scenario for some of these kids is so much worse. And on the week that we mark the 4-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd, which reinvigorated the Black Lives Matter movement, I would be remiss if I did not even mention that Yassin did not face the worst case scenario as a brown man interacted with the police a couple of weeks ago. But I do imagine that he was aware of the significant personal risk he took on by joining our students at the University of Tennessee, and he still did so with enthusiasm and pride. So as we move into Pride Month in just a few days, I encourage you to ask yourself, what would Yassin do? I encourage you to ask yourself if you are close enough to those you claim to be an ally to be hit by rocks being thrown at them. And maybe ask yourself how you can strive to shield them from some of those stones. Because I've got to tell you, your queer friends are tired. We are tired of looking over our shoulders. We are tired of being in the news. We are tired of the push and pull between excitement that there's pride stuff in the stores and grumpy about rainbow capitalism, that the only time of year everybody seems to market towards us is when they think we're likely to spend a lot of money. We're scared for our friends. We're scared for our kids. We are scared for our community, and we are tired. We are tired of burying our youth. We are tired of fighting for basic human rights. We are tired of begging to be acknowledged. And as a queer person who is striving to be an ally to the people of Palestine right now, I know I cannot understand exactly what they are going through. But I think I have some sliver of a shadow of an idea, and something I know about Unitarian Universalism, as we are so proud to be a queer affirming church. We know how to support and affirm our queer community. We know how to march at Pride, and we know all the comebacks to all those statements about, well, the Bible says, actually it doesn't. And as we move into Pride Month, I encourage you to take some of that energy and direct it towards our siblings in Palestine. I encourage you to direct some of that energy towards supporting some of our youth activists at the University of Tennessee and beyond. The Side with Love and the UUA put out a really powerful statement about supporting youth advocates and student advocates a couple weeks ago that I'll be happy to share with y'all. And I'm also happy to share links and resources to these accounts from these students at UT so you can learn from them firsthand. And I encourage you to take risks where you can, because it is a privilege to have the opportunity to choose to take a risk. And it is an honor to be a safe place for another human being. One of my favorite quotes regarding justice work is from the Talmud. It says, "Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it." The good thing about justice work is it is all related. So sometimes we may feel like we're all sitting in our separate corners, tugging our little edges of the fabric of the universe, doing our environmental justice work and our queer justice work and everything else, and it may feel like we're all separate, but we're all working towards the same goal, which is beloved community and liberation for all. May we make this vision a reality in our world. May we hold one another in radical love and acceptance, and may we be held as well. May it be so.